Where do your big thoughts come from, and who do you go to validate them?
Great question. So, as you know, I am
How do you shift through the volumes of work to the quality and the level that you do? How are you a productivity ninja?
God, that's a really good question as well. Welcome to the Life of a Business Leader, Episode-1. This is a fresh face to our podcast series, and it's going to be a really cathartic experience because normally I am the interviewer, but today there's going to be a complete role reversal and I am the interviewee. Jane, who is my wife, also is a director in our businesses. She's Chief Marketing Officer for all our group companies. Jane is going to be doing the interview, and I'm going to be the first guest that is interviewed. We'll talk more about the life of a business leader later in terms of the whole concept to it, but what I'm going to do is now I'm going to hand over to Jane, who's going to take us on a journey. Welcome, Jane.
I know. Hello, welcome. This is different.
It's different for me, believe me.
No, so I thought it was a good idea for the relaunch of the podcast, The Life of a Business Leader, was actually to hear more about you as a business leader. Because obviously, as you said, you interview a lot of people, you ask them the questions. But I think a lot of listeners, a lot of your followers will want to know what goes on in Royston Guest's head. So what better way to do it than me, not only a partner in the business, but his wife, to ask the questions.
I am scared because I've not had we've not really planned this, and you're going to be throwing questions at me. So just go easy on me. That's all I would say.
Oh, no. This is just a warm-up. Don't worry. So we used to have a podcast called Talking Pathways. I think we got to about episode 19, so ran it for just over 2 years. And the last one, when I went on Spotify, was August 2022. So, quite a while ago when we actually did the last episode. So why have you decided to relaunch a podcast, rebrand it with a new title? What's you thinking about that?
So first, I didn't realize it was August 2022 when we did the last one. It was that long ago. In terms of why we've rebranded it, let's deal with that first. My passion and all the conversations you and I have about the business, about Ron Seeley does what it says on the tin. And I think when we had the title Talking Pathways, people might see that title, particularly for the first time, and go, what is that all about? So in our conversations, I wanted it to be more reflective, that people could see the title and instantly they will be able to create an association in their minds about what it was going to be about. So changing it from Talking Pathways to the Life of a Business Leader felt much more relevant, particularly in the context of the audience and who we are working with and the value that we want to add and the difference we want to make to our clients. So it just felt more on point. It felt more intriguing. I think it will spark curiosity. And also, I think it gives us more latitude to think about the guests that we can have on the podcast series, because the life of a business leader can be so varied. You can talk about personal life, professional life. It can be examples of how people have grown and scaled their businesses, the challenges they're facing, the opportunities. So I'm just really excited because I think it gives us a fresh impetus and will be really value adding for our clients and for our listeners.
Okay. So why the long gap between August 22 to now? You talk about consistency and discipline. We're not disciplined in delivering our podcast.
Well, to be fair, I didn't realize it was so long since we did one. That just proves how fast time flies. You're not going to go easy on me. I can see you're going to be poking the bear and provocative in some of your questions. I think the reality is, when you talk about consistency, absolutely 100%. And it's probably down to me. I think we've been incredibly busy adding value for clients that we've just let it subside. But our conversations about 2024, we know podcasts are really popular. A lot of our clients have been saying to me, who either knew that we did a podcast before or new clients saying, Royston, why don't you do a podcast? So I guess the positive pressure's been there for us to have a conversation and say, do you know what? We need to get back on it with this and be consistent moving forward with it.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, so now over to the type of questions to ask. I did go out to our followers and say, what types of questions would you like to for me to ask Royston?
I'm getting
So no,
really
so the
nervous at
first
this
one,
point.
yeah, I got a long list. uh,
Brilliant.
no, so I suppose for me, being the business partner, so I see the business elements, and then but also being your wife, I see you outside of the office. So my question to you is, what do people not see um, behind the scenes? I suppose from Royston Guest. So they see you as the consultant, sounding board, the strategic advisor, the facilitator. The YouTuber, but what do they not see? And as a business owner as well.
Yes, I think it's a great question. And I guess what they don't see is the weight of expectation, the pressure, the risk that I think you take as a business leader. The reality is it is 24/7, 365
Mm.
days a year. I actually love, and I know we've talked about this, I actually love Christmas
Christmas,
because
yeah.
that period running into Christmas and between Christmas and New Year is the only time when I feel like I can truly switch off because a lot of our
Yeah.
clients close down. If they are working, they're just kind of keeping their businesses ticking over. They're not really focused on growth and wanting to do sessions and so forth. So it is 24/7, 365. I think your business is. It's like having in my case, a third child. Lots of opportunity, which is why people set up their business in the first place to be masters of their own destiny. But with it comes a huge amount of risk and responsibility. And I might come across as a real positive person, but I feel that weight of responsibility, and particularly in the climate that we're in, it's every day there are key decisions that you need to make as a leader, which are not just decisions that you can make just on the cuff. The
Mm.
questions and the decisions you've got to make are fundamental that will either catapult you forward with the business or could set you back months. So I think it's not. I think it's a tough gig running a business. It's a tough
Yeah.
gig.
Yeah. Now ever since I've known you, I've probably known you now, gosh, 15 years maybe. I've always known you as an early bird. You wake up 4:30, 5 o'clock, you do a good 2-3 hours work before your diary kicks in. Do you think you've built that way as a person, or do you think you've had to train yourself to do that, to be able to get up, do those 2-3 hours of work? Because again, people don't necessarily see that or that work
No,
that goes on behind the scenes.
no, yeah, and you're right. I think you tend to be more of a morning person or a night owl person. I am naturally, my default mode is I've always risen early. I think it's to do when I was born. I was born at 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's just quite interesting that I was born at 5 in the morning and I tend to get up at 5 o'clock. So is there a correlation or a synergy there? Perhaps, but I just like mornings. My brain is fresh in the morning, and when everybody else is asleep, that time from 5 o'clock in the morning to now kind of 10 past 7 when the kids get up and we do breakfast and with the kids and set their day up for success. That window of opportunity is me doing my stuff, burning through stuff because, as you know, most of my days are spent client facing, engaging, speaking at conferences, exec coaching sessions, consulting, having conversations with clients. So when do I get time to do that burn stuff?
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. And it's I suppose it was linked to the question of what do people not see, as you as a business leader and all that work that you do in those crazy hours.
Oh yeah, no, there's a great saying, isn't there? And there's no such thing as an overnight success. Behind
Mm,
every overnight success are hours of dedication. The pathway to mastery, where we talk about 10,000 hours. I probably work as hard or harder now than I ever have worked.
mm,
And I think that's the demands of the fast paced world that we're in. Clients are more demanding than ever. You're having to add more value than you ever added before, and that just puts pressure on your business on what you're doing. So, I've always been in belief. It's wired into me that get the contribution role right. I've never shirked away from being truly committed and in the arena and being prepared to work hard, and yes, smart, but hard in there. So yeah, you're right. People don't see those hours of dedication and prep and stuff that you do early in the mornings. And back to my point, you never truly switch off. You, as a business owner, your mind is always active. It's always thinking about the next thing and what you're doing and how you can balance all the plates and spin all the plates.
Yeah, interesting. So moving on to another question now. So obviously with the economic pressures that we're all feeling personally and professionally, the way the uncertainty generally in the world, we came out of pandemic, we hit Brexit, we then hit the Ukrainian war. It's coming at everybody at every different angle, and especially business owners and the impact on them. With all that going on, what keeps you awake at night as a business leader and business owner?
Oh, good question.
I
I
did
think.
prepare.
Um,
I
you
did
did,
prepare.
I know you prepared, but you didn't. You could have given me a heads up, so I knew what was coming my way. But I prefer it. This is me when it's a podcast is at its best when it's raw and you've not had chance to prepare too much. So I think positively, what's on your mind is, and I have learned over the years to silence it a bit more. But positively, what's on my mind every night is just constantly thinking about the business and where we're going and all those different plates. I guess what negatively keeps me awake at night or would keep me awake at night is if I thought we were hand to mouth, like literally, how are we going to pay salaries, how are we going to cover our overheads every single month, and where's the next paycheck coming from, that would absolutely keep me awake at night. And I think one thing that businesses learned from the pandemic is you've got to get some kind of runway and reserves in place, because you can't live like that. I guess the other thing that keeps me awake at night is it's not just an expectation of being successful as a business leader. I think when you have children, your whole weight of expectation changes as well. What keeps me awake at night is making sure that making sure I'm delivering, making sure I'm protecting the future for you, for us, for the kids, and that keeps me awake at night in terms of the expectations of that, and not letting you guys down, and that carries a heavy weight. It really does. And then the other thing that really, you're getting me going now. I'm kind of getting in a stream of consciousness. I'd say one thing that really does gives me almost a sick feeling in the gut of my stomach is if I ever thought we weren't living up to the promises that we make for clients and we weren't delivering for them. I hate that thought.
I know that you feel that weight of responsibility.
Yeah. That would
and
really,
and even more so in these times.
yeah, and that would give me a real sickening, gut wrenching, right in the the core of my guts in terms of and I'll burn a lot of mental calories. So that's great, because that is a driver to make sure that every day we are purposeful and we are living up to the promise and delivering for clients, not over promising or overstretching ourselves. And then I guess the final one, Jane, that really gets me as well is I hate losing. So what would keep me awake at night? No surprise there, is there? But one thing that would keep me awake at night is, if we've lost out on a piece of business or we've lost a pitch. Again, my desire to win and want to add value really, would make my brain would be ticking over, thinking about why didn't we get that? Where did we fall down? Where did we fail? So yeah, so you got me into a stream of consciousness then.
This is not therapy.
Love it. Go on, keep them coming. Hit me with the next boulder.
Okay, so you've touched on it in that question, actually. So you might expand more on some of the points you touched on. So where does your drive and motivation come from? What you often say, what find your purpose, find your why. What's your why? Why do you get up at 4:30, 5:00 every morning and do, a 12, 14-hour day every single day, but still do it with such passion and enthusiasm and motivation? Where does that come from?
This is great because actually I can answer this question without having to give too much thought to it. So you can have a tick for this question. And the reason I can is because, one of the things that we talk about a lot is, and you've already referenced, is being clear about your success definitions and what drives and motivates you. So my answer to this question, there's kind of two or three key layers to it. I guess if I went back to my childhood, one of the things that really motivates and drives me today is, I was, and this is not coming across as arrogance, but I was pretty good at a lot of sports. I was good at football. I was good at tennis. I was good at running. And teachers always used to say to me, or coaches, Royston, if you focused on one thing, that could be your kind of career or destiny. And I never did. I kind of flitted from one to the other, much to the frustration of my mother, because she would take me to, running, and she'd do it for 6 months and take me 4 days a week and drive me there and pick me up. And then one day I'd be in the kitchen and go, I don't want to run anymore. And she'd be like tearing her hair out going, are you having a laugh? But bringing that back to today, one of my drivers is I do look back and think, if I'd focused on one thing and one sport, could I have been a professional footballer? Could I have been a professional tennis player? And with that comes a tinge of regret. So again, I guess one of the things that motivates me today is to, whatever I choose to do, and in the career that we are in now, I truly want to be world class at it. Not average. I want to be the best. I want to be world class at it. And I never want it to be that a school report today would say lots of potential, but Royston is not realizing his potential.
Yeah.
And the journey for that never stops. You're constantly growing, but that is definitely one of my key drivers. And then you're right, I did allude to a couple of others with what keeps me awake at night. Family is absolutely a driver now. If I was to drop dead tomorrow, what keeps me awake at night and drives me is to think, how do I make sure that, there's financial freedom, for you, for the kids, and that you're set up for success. God forbid that ever happens. And then, there is that weight of expectation. The third thing that drives me is, if you think about the marketplace and clients, business failure rates are horrendous in the UK and globally. So what drives me, and I think is aligns to our mission and purpose at Pathways and Royston Guest Limited, is we need to reverse those stats. And that's what drives me to think, how can we change the way that business owners and businesses, they think, feel, and act, so that we reverse those stats. So I guess those three things are what drives me.
Okay. So what you're telling me is you could have been David Beckham.
Trust you to go for that. But if it had been David Beckham, I might never have met you.
True. I was definitely not a Spice Girl.
There's definitely a light at the end of every tunnel. So no, you're not a Spice Girl, but you're better.
And I know a story you share, which is a personal story, and it's in Rise, was about your dad's business, and that's a key driver, isn't he? Where your dad's business had the opportunity to sell and he chose not to, and what happened thereafter.
Yeah, and I guess that story underpins my last point that I talked about there in terms of the business failures. And you're absolutely right. It is a key driver. Back in the late 1980s, my dad had the opportunity, I think it was about 5.5 million. Or was he turning over 5 million? I think he would have sold it for, it was millions of pounds, which probably today will be equivalent of, 20, 30 million. And he turned it down because he believed he could take the business to the next level. Construction recession kicked in. The business ran out of cash. Contractors didn't pay him, and the business went bust. And and in those days, you paid off all your debts. And my dad lost his house. It was a really tough time. So yeah, that's absolutely a key driver.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of staying with the same topic. So we talked about where you get your drive and your motivation from. Where do your big thoughts and ideas come from? So we obviously, or you, do a lot of executive coaching. We talk about having mentors, going out, trying to find your success formulas. find out that people are doing things well and take what they're doing well. So who do you use for all of that? I know I'm here and I play a major role in that.
You had to get that one in, didn't you?
But seriously, on a serious note, where do your big thoughts come from, and who do you go to validate them?
Great question. So, as you know, I am a vivacious reader and just consumer of information, and not novels, although I did read the first novel I've ever read at 51 years of age this year. But I've always read biographies, business books, and literally I've read hundreds over the years. So that is a key source in terms of just feeding my mind. I guess one of the distinct places is we are really fortunate in what we do, that we are fortunate enough to work with some phenomenal leaders, businesses. So one of the things that I'm really conscious of is that every day is a learning opportunity. And whilst I might be in speaking at an event or exec coaching, I honestly learn as much from those businesses and those leaders as I do in terms of adding value and helping them. So every day there's like a switch in my brain where I just think, I get to go to work every single day, do my passion, and also learn from so many great businesses and so many great leaders. And having done what we've done for over 2 decades, you start to see patterns, and you start to see. So when you start to package that up, and I think what we've managed to do really cleverly is how we package that up and then reposition and use all that lot and all those different frames of references. And then the final point, Jane, as well, is I do have my inner circle of coaches, and some of those are virtual, around what I call my virtual board table, that are my go-to people. And then I've got some really good friends and mentors that I would always go to use as sounding boards and advice. So, there's not one golden bullet. Of course, you being in there is one of those sources. But there's not one golden bullet. There's just it's multi-layered, I would say.
Yeah, no, and it's good to reach out to different types of sources to get you that balanced view.
Yeah.
Okay. So another question. So we obviously, with Built to Grow, with Rise, with the Pathways platform, we provide lots of tools, templates, concepts, plan on a page, define what success means to you, create your values, create your culture booklet. Do you walk the talk? Do we have those things in our business? I know the answer to this, obviously.
Oh my God! Now you are getting to the putting that little knife in, aren't you? Being provocative and poking the bear. No, that is a brilliant question, and authentically, with honesty and integrity. I think if it's a school report, it would say could do better.
Okay.
I think we do a lot of them, but it's something that I am conscious of. And we had this conversation last year, which was a bit of a light bulb moment, Jane, and you were the one who drove this. And you said, sometimes, Royston, you're out there spending so much time with clients and giving them your all, and almost you come back to either personally or professionally, and it's like you've had the life sucked out of you because you've given so much. And I am massively conscious of a point that you made linking into this around making sure that I turn the dials up and the energy levels on our own business, and make sure that I am walking the talk and are an exemplar of best practice of everything that we do. And you're absolutely right, whether it's Built to Grow, Rise, that we can actually go and we can signpost, because that's one of our values, is about authenticity. And if we're not walking the talk on our own business, then can we authentically, with passion, with conviction, say to clients, and I'd love for clients to be able to say, where's your plan on a page? And I'd be able to go, here it is. Where's your success definitions? Here they are. So I'd like to think that we are much better, but I still think, there's opportunities to walk the talk. And I guess I know you probably want to move on, but just one other point on that as well. There is an interesting metaphor with this. It's like the decorator who goes and decorates people's houses, and their partner's been nagging them to death for 2 years because theirs is the worst decorated house on the road because they never decorate their own house because they're so busy decorating other people's houses. So I do think for anybody listening to this, there is a lesson in this, that whatever you do professionally, you have to make sure you are an exemplar of whatever it is you do in your own life and in your own business. And I think it's a good challenge that you throw out.
Yeah. And I think you're quite tough on yourself there, but because I think we do. But I think what happens is, because you're out getting all your ideas, like you said in the previous question, your brain is constantly on the go. You come back, take plan on the page, for example. Yes, Jane, this is our plan on the page template. I want to improve it. So I find our content, our resources, our concepts are constantly, in a positive way, to be fair, constantly shifting, because you're saying, oh my gosh, I've seen how we can improve it. I can see how we can make this better. I can see. So I think we have got them in, but they're constantly shifting as you are gaining greater insight or finding a better way of doing something. So that would be my kind of take on it.
No, that is a really great take. And I know sometimes it frustrates the hell out of you when I come back and I go, oh, this, but that's because
I thought I hit that.
No, and I get the frustration with that, but it's coming from a good place because I never want us to be complacent. I think that curiosity, that positive itch of never taking anything for granted and just constantly hunting out those marginal gains and how can we be better and how can we deliver excellence in everything that we do. Yeah, it can be frustrating because naturally and sometimes it's a small tweak here. So you're absolutely right, but it does come from a good place of just wanting to be the best and deliver the best for us and for our clients.
Yeah. No, and it's good. And it makes sure that we don't go stale.
Yeah, no, and the moment you go stale, the moment you're stale and not growing, then you're going backwards. And then if you don't like change, you like irrelevance even less. And I never wanted to be in that position.
Yeah, no. Okay, so just a couple more questions. I don't know how long we've got.
How many 7 minutes we've been going for? So
okay, just a couple more then. So we're all got 24 hours in the day. Nobody's yet has invented time travel or been able to buy time. I know how roughly many hours you sleep at night, maybe 6-7 hours a night sleeping. You do have to eat within that. You do have some downtime where you're reading your books. How, in whatever's left of those hours, do you get everything you do? Your burn rate, I think I've got quite a high burn rate, but yours is, off the scale. How do you shift through the volumes of work to the quality and the level that you do every day? Basically, how are you a productivity ninja?
That's a nice tag. I like the tag of productivity ninja. God, that's a really good question as well. God, you must have spent some time thinking about these questions.
I did.
You talk about 3 Ps: probing, piercing, penetrating questions, and you've definitely nailed those today. Maybe you should be doing the interviews moving forward on the life of a business leader, not me. So I think there's a couple of things. One, I think it comes from a passion of, we as a business, I think, don't do stuff that doesn't add value and move us forward. So there is a benefit, and I do not get distracted with a lot of the there's no politics in our business. There's no silos. There's no bureaucracy. So that takes a lot of the stuff out, because when I'm in the zone and in the mode of working, I am focused on high value, high ticket stuff that moves us forward as a business or adds values for clients. And I think what you and the team allow me to do is really be focused on what is worthy of Royston's time. And I'm constantly focused on, where do I add most value for the business? And how can I keep myself at that level where I'm doing the things that only I can do? I'm not getting consumed in the wheat or in the weeds that I am, focused on that high value ticket stuff. So one is I am brutal about the prioritization, and a skill that I have learnt over the years is to say no more often so that you can say yes to the important stuff. So I think there's that, and I think that's not just me. That's what we've managed to do as a business. That we are agile. We do think like a day one business, and we don't do all the toxins of culture and all the stuff that can come in. I think it goes back to having a compelling why in terms of why you do what you do. And if you're doing your passion every single day, you'll never work a day in your life. So I am fortunate that I'm doing my passion. And then the other thing is, I think, and you're better at this bit than I am, and I actually learned from you on this, that when you're in the zone and you are doing a piece of work, don't get distracted. Switch off the email, put the mobile phone away. I like to give myself time challenges that say, right, I've got this proposal to do. Right, if I really got focused, this should take me an hour. Set the clock and just get into the zone and do it. And I know we're both fans of stolen focus, Yo and Hari. There's too many distractions in business today. And, this whole culture of open plan offices, which everybody goes, yes, we're all one inclusive team. But, open plan offices are the Achilles heel of productivity.
Yeah.
People just walk over to your desk and go, oh, can I just ask you this? Or have you got a minute? And, that happens 20 times in the day. And then you wonder why somebody started a proposal at 9 o'clock and it's not finished by 5 o'clock. So I think you've got to give yourself time to burn and focus and just get shit done.
Yeah. So, well, I think the stat in stolen focus was something like every time you have a distraction, if you're in the zone doing a piece of work, you have a distraction. I think it's something like either 3 minutes or I can't remember, something quite significant amount of time for you to get back to that point where the distraction happened. And the distraction could be you just quickly get a notification on your phone from Facebook. Somebody comes over and talks to you. You check an email pings in that you go and check. But it's quite a significant amount of time for you to get back to that level of focus you were when you were in it.
Yeah.
I'm ruthless when I'm in the zone doing my work.
Oh, and you are, and I think that's one of your greatest skills, your productivity. And to be fair, I think, and this might sound like a generalized comment, I think women are generally better than males at burn rate. Don't know why that is, but I just think generally females are better at focus and not doing all the fill stuff that they just get in the zone and get stuff done.
I think it's because we've got so much to do. Do you know what I mean? It's work, the kids, the house. You know by X time you switch into another role, so you need to get one role's jobs done.
Yeah. No, totally agree.
Just picking up really. So we have templates. I'm just trying to think. A high performing weeks template. We have Focus 5, which is all aimed at trying to improve productivity. Do you have them in place? Do you run your diaries like that? Like, on a practical level, how did your high performing week look like, or what does it look like?
So 100%, and I think the more senior you are and the busier you are, designing with conscious, deliberate intent your high performance week is really important. And I sit down with Aline, my EA, every single week religiously on a Monday for an hour, going through the diary, what's happening, where is it happening, have we optimized the time? And I'm a massive advocate of, be really conscious and deliberate about designing your high performance week and getting in there. And that's even things not only professionally, but I book in my gym appointments in my diary, because if I don't book them in, it won't happen. Whereas if I treat it like it's a business meeting, then actually it does happen. And particularly if I think about in the last month or so, I've been really disciplined in making sure that I get my exercise every day, because that is so important for your professional well-being as well. So yes, Focus 5s, high performance weeks, any of those tools that help you to be more effective and manage your time and put yourself in the driver's seat, massively, champion of those things.
And you talked about prioritization. What levers do you use to prioritize? Is it urgent? Is it the one that's going to bring in the most money? What's your levers? Is it that helps you prioritize? Is it the deadline itself?
Yeah, no, and I think it's really today. I think most people understand the basics of self-management or time management. I think one of the challenges for leaders today is about how you prioritize the priorities. And it's not that
Yeah.
you're getting those, it's how do I prioritize the priorities. And then for me, that comes with a hierarchy of decision making. So if there's a promise we've made to an existing client on an existing piece of work and we are running against a deadline, then that would absolutely carry a priority. If there's a proposal that we need to get out, which is for a significant piece of work, then again, that would carry a priority. So I guess in my mind, and it's an interesting question because I think it's not formulaic in terms of it's not down in black and white, but I do have conceptually in my brain, when I think about prioritizing the priorities and looking at my diary and what's on the success list, I do have a kind of a hierarchy of decision making that allows me to go, right, this is number one, this is number two, and this is number three. And I never prioritize the whole list. I only go, right, if I got to the end of today and I've done these three things today, and it starts with this one first, then that's how I prioritize. And then once I've done those three things, then I can move on and reprioritize the success list with the next ones.
Interesting. So if you've got 15 things on your list, you set what you want to definitely get done that day. And if it was only the 3, but you got the 3 done, that's success to you.
100%. And I think, sometimes what people do at the end of the day is they beat themselves up because they haven't done 12 things on the list as opposed to the 3 things. And I think sometimes in life, if you just wrote at the end of the day, what were today's achievements? And if they were the 3 things that you prioritize as being the most important 3 things at the start of the day and you've done them, then at the end of the day, when you're looking at today's achievements, there should be a tick in the box and say, I've done those. And if you've managed to do the 4th, the 5th, or the 6th, then that's an added bonus. But at least you've done the 3 most important things that day that were going to move the dial and catapult you forward in hunting down your personal and professional goals.
No, that's interesting because I should imagine a lot of people would look at the whole list and go, oh my gosh, I've only done a 3rd or a 5th of that, rather than thinking, no, that was my goal, the 3, and that's a successful day.
Yeah, and what they'll tend to do, Jane, is they'll tend to look at 15 things and they'll dip into the 1st, the 7th, the 8th, the 10th. And then at the end of the day, they go, I haven't managed to finish anything. I've done little snippets or parts of these, but I've not finished anything. And then you get that feeling of incompleteness and you get overwhelmed. Whereas if you go, right, I'm going to do this, once I've prioritized the top 3 things, I'm going to go, that's number 1. I'm going to do number 1 till I can do it no more. And that might be, I can't 100% complete it, but I can get it to this stage where I need the input then I can move on to the second one.
Yeah. No, interesting. I've learned something. That was interesting. Okay, just probably just one more. If we got time for that.
One final question, I think, and then
Wrap it up.
My brain's exhausted then.
I suppose it's actually because we've got this bit of a role reversal going on. It's a question reversal because the question that I get asked when people realise when we work together, but also I'm your wife, is how you are with clients on Fast Track Friday when people meet you in a professional capacity, which is this positive force of energy. How are you like at home? Is that just a facade, and are you different at home? And that's the question that I actually get asked most often when people realize our relationship connection. So how do you think I would answer that?
Well, here's how I think I'd like you to answer it, because I don't believe personally and professionally are mutually exclusive. And I don't think you should be a split personality whereby professionally you've got a facade that you are working, but authentically you're not like that in your personal life. So I'd like to think your answer will be that generally, that positivity that Royston has manifests itself in his personal life as much as it does in his professional life. How would you answer it?
Correct.
No, and so that's and I think that's important from an authenticity perspective. I think, never a copy, always an original. I think if you're going to be authentic, then you shouldn't have that difference in your personality. I like to think maybe it's toned down sometimes.
Oh,
and that.
No. Oh, no, it's not different. No, I'm not accepting that part of it. So yeah, is Royston, is Royston like he is at home? That's the question. The honest answer is yes, and I don't think it's toned down. I think you are completely upbeat, positive. I have this joke that if it was announced that the world was ending, there was an Armageddon, you would find the positive in it. Seriously, I would be there trying to get the supplies to keep us safe, get the matches, the candles, getting all these survival things. You would be trying to find the positive in it. Seriously, oh, this is a great opportunity to clear out all this stuff or whatever it may be.
Oh, I love it.
So no, he does not tone down. No, I won't accept that. But so yes, you are how you are at home. So which is fun.
Yeah, so I absolutely buy that. I guess there's just two slight caveats that I would have put on it. The first is that I like to hope it's not blind positivity or blind optimism. I'd like to think that, I like, one of my leadership traits that I talk about is I like to think that I'm the pragmatic optimist, because I think blind optimism is just, you're almost delusional. So I like to think I do hunt out and find the opportunity and the difficulty, or we'll always look at the glass as being half full, not half empty. But there's also, that is caveated with an element of pragmatism in terms of being grounded in the real world and scenarios and situations that you're facing. But yes, I will naturally switch really quickly to try and look for the positive in it. And then I guess the only other final point I would say that, and this might come as a surprise to our listeners, I do think I'm quite a private person though as well. And I know in terms of what we do in conference speaking, all those things, you say to me all the time, Royston, I think you'd be happy if you just hibernated for the weekend and never saw anybody, and you just and that's because I love spending time with you, with the kids, family, but also the downtime. And I'm not needy of having to be around other people. So I actually think that, yes, people might think I'm a massively extrovert personality, but there is a part of me which is I'm quite happy being that introverted, locked away. And, my ideal night would be stood at the barbecue with a bottle of Peroni in my hand, flicking the chicken wings on the barbecue, and, you, the kids, and some close friends and family just, running around. That would be utopia for me. I'm not needy of going to nice restaurants or being in the spotlight. That's I don't think that's not who I am. That's not the real me.
Yeah. Interesting. So when's the next episode coming out?
Oh, are you switching back over to me now as the do I get to go back into my role as the interviewer? So we have a list of great guests who are going to be coming on the Life of a Business Leader. So we're currently scheduling to get those all interviewed. We're committing to get the podcast out there as a minimum once a month. I'd like to think we'll do it more often, but I'd rather under promise and over deliver, which is what you tell me to do all the time. So I'd rather under promise and over deliver. But some fantastic interviews coming out. So the next one will be out in the next few weeks. Watch the space. We'll be doing releases in terms of notifications. But yes, and please make sure that you have subscribed, or you've liked, or you've made sure you've got this in your feeds, so that when we do put notifications out there, when we do post new episodes of the Life of a Business Leader podcast, that you're instantly getting it. And of course, share it with friends, share it with your work colleagues. I set the bar high, Jay, and I've got a goal of, the Life of Business Leader being one of the top podcasts in 2024 across the Spotify, Apple, across the key channels. And, the pressure's on for us to make sure that we add real value and people get, bucket loads of value from the Life of a Business Leader. So really exciting, really exciting.
Mm-hmm. You can invite me back.
I need to reciprocate and invite you on and interview you. Maybe what we should talk about is the dynamics, which would be really key, because I know a lot of business leaders who've work with their partners or family businesses. Maybe you and I should do a podcast dedicated to what's it like to work with your partner. Together. How do you put the boundaries in place? Where are those lines? How do you make sure that your wife doesn't want to kill you every single day? Which I'm sure you.
Well, that's the second most question I get asked. How do you work with Royston?
So no, we definitely should do a one of the series of the life of a business leader should be dedicated to that, because I think a lot of people get value from that, because it is,
I
you know,
agree.
there's lots of benefits to it, but oh my God, there are downsides as well. So,
On that happy note.
so listen, brilliant, and thank you for doing that, and I'm hoping our listeners have got value from that. The life of the business leader, we want it to be raw. We want it to be the uncut versions of real individuals in terms of their trials, their tribulations, what works, what doesn't work. You know, it's a lonely place being a business leader, and I think the life of a business leader is a resource that will be able to energize, charge you, and just give you that shot in the arm when you're wanting either to enhance your mindset, the skills, or you're wanting tools to be a better leader. So really exciting. So thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
And from the life of a business leader, we look forward to being with you on episode 2. Goodbye for now.